Good morning.
Morning. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for willing to do this.
Sure, sure. Thank you for being patient with me with my nonsensical schedule. Got my tea, got my water. Now try and remember things you're going to talk about.
Okay.
It's my ability.
So I can start from the beginning and
Sure, let's go.
just ask, was your goal to always pursue acting in some sort of way?
Yes. I never really knew how to do anything else. I was always trying to get attention from my family when I was a kid and succeeding because I would do ridiculous skits and impressions. I watched SCTV as a kid religiously and idolized Martin Short and his diversity and his versatility. And I just always wanted to do this. I still am able to, which is great.
Mhm. And was it just like acting in general, or was it voice acting?
It was acting in general,
Okay.
but I would do funny voices all the time. I would do impressions. Like I say, Martin Short was doing impressions, and when I grew up, Saturday Night Live at the time, I was a little young for the original Saturday Night Live, but when I can remember there was one season that Marty Short was in, and with Billy Crystal and Christopher Guest, and they were like invested in impressions. So I kind of copied those guys, and the voices kind of translated to me doing voice acting now.
Mhm. And what was the first paid job that you got for voice acting?
I believe it was Urusei Yatsura.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that was the first. Yeah, it was the film of that, and I was completely green and had no idea what I was doing technically. But what happened was the fellow who directed that saw I put in my resume that I did celebrity impressions and accents and dialects, and he foolishly assumed I had done voiceovers before, which I hadn't. But I wasn't going to dissuade him of that notion because I wanted to work. And he cast me in two big roles in it, and I was at scenes with myself. And it's hard to look at for me now and to listen to, but I was trying, and that's what really counts, right?
Yeah. Was that Mike Sinner Nicholas?
No, I met Sinter Nicholas many years later. That was
Oh, okay.
this was Alan Gus, I think was his name, and he now or he was working in Pokemon for a while, and he's been around forever. He's a vet. I
So
met Sinter Nicholas. I met Sinter Nicholas in Ninja Turtles. The first day we started recording Ninja Turtles.
okay.
And Mike, yeah.
And so did it take a while to get used to the process of dubbing for you?
I think the main hurdle when you're doing voice acting is to be able to use your voice as a tool. Like the technical aspects, when they're explained to me in monosyllables, were really easy for me to comprehend because it was, at the time, it was not quite digital, and there would be, the three beeps leading into when you talk. And I kind of lied at my first job and just was able to understand that right away, and we got to work right away.
Mhm.
So I think that first job just opened my mind and my technical appreciation and understanding much wider than it already had been. So I was able to get that aspect down.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, in the first contact that I wrote to you, the probably the first project that instilled your voice in my head was Wrath of the Ninja. If you remember that at all.
Yotoden, rather
Yeah.
than Ninja. I watched that again not too long ago. Like when this pandemic stuff went down, I found a box of old VHS tapes. Do you know what they are?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
not that young. And I have a device that converts VHS to DVD. You know what DVDs are?
Yeah.
And I found a box. I'd taped Yotoden off Cartoon Network or something, and I was watching it, and it's better than my earlier stuff. Like it's still not great, but I enjoyed it. It was a character. I think the character that I did in that Ranmaru,
Yeah.
yeah, he it was more heroic and more action oriented than things I'd done before. A lot of stuff, and to this day, are comedic and or villainous. But to be a character that was proactive and action oriented was different and fun.
And another really big role for me was in Slayer's Next.
Mm-hmm. Don't know the name of the character, but I remember working on Slayers.
Okay.
Remember the room I was in. I remember who was there, but I don't remember what character I was.
Okay.
Ruka? Is that Ruka?
Phil
Oh,
Brizzo.
Hellmaster Fabrizio.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, I totally remember that now. I wasn't sure that was Slayers. I remember that. Yeah, that was great because there was a, an awesome note at the very end when he meets his fate and I think it was I can't remember the exact wording of it, but it was a direction I'd never gotten before or since. It was just explaining what was because he melts.
Yeah.
He evaporates, and his mouth is open the entire time, and like his head separates, and typical anime stuff, you know.
And do you have a personal preference for darker roles opposed to comedic roles, or?
Darker roles tend to be more fun for me because there's more going on. A hero is saving the day. That's their motivation.
Mhm.
Got to save the day, which is noble and awesome in real life. In cartoons and anime, it's simple, and I'd like to have more to do.
Mhm.
And villains tend to have cooler catchphrases. They tend to have more exciting things to do. The comedic stuff is always good because a lot of that involves yelling. I yell quite a bit in my career, and it's very cathartic and cleansing.
Mhm. Well, one big comedic show that I haven't got to talk to anybody else about yet. I know you were a main role in a ping pong club.
Oh yeah, yes. I remember Ping Pong Club was probably in the same studio where I did Slayers and Wrath of the Ninja. There was a great. I mean, it's awful because there was so much questionable material in that show. It was fun.
Yeah.
And we're doing that concurrently with like the 4Kids heyday. So a lot of us would be in the studio, like Dan and Ted Lewis and Greg. We'd go in the early part of the day and record kid-friendly things, you know, Pokemon or Ultimate Muscle or whatever it is. And then like almost by design, after hours, we'd go around the corner to St. Nicholas's place. It was Sonomat, different place. We'd go there, and it was just this wacky, adult-oriented, disgusting thing. And again, it was kind of like a cleansing thing. We'd be trying to be all kid-friendly, and you know, One Piece we can't smoke, and then we go over here and like anything goes. I think I was literally defecated on.
Yeah.
Club, yeah. Garbage can. I remember that. Yeah, crowning achievement. Went to college for this.
And when was Ghost Sweeper Mikami? Because you were a lead role in that too.
I remember that that was probably maybe around the same time as Ping Pong Club, maybe after. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But it was that same kind of situation where we were doing a lot of stuff at 4Kids during the day, and then weekends or in the evening we'd be doing them with the more darker or adult-oriented stuff. I can't remember exactly what I did in Ghost Sweeper Mikami, but I know it's on my resume. What was the character's name?
Tadao.
Yeah, it's not ringing any bells, but I do remember working pretty hard on that, and it being more of an involved project than some of the things where you walk in, do 3 or 4 rounds, and walk away.
Yeah. Do you remember what your first video game role would have been?
Probably a tie-in to Turtles or Yu-Gi-Oh.
Okay.
I don't think I did too many video games before the licensed stuff.
Because I was going to guess if it was Shadow Hearts.
Shadow Hearts, yeah, that may have been before it. Yeah, you know what it was, because I was doing, I just started doing some stuff with 4Kids, and there was a satellite studio they would work with where they would do shows that they couldn't accommodate at the same time in their main studio, and that was where Shadow Hearts was. Yeah, which confused me because Kingdom Hearts came out around that time, and I thought, oh, I worked on Kingdom Hearts, and I'm looking at it going, no, this is way better.
Yeah. So prior to Yu-Gi-Oh, with the more bigger roles you had in anime, is there one that you had the most affinity with?
The most affinity for before Yu-Gi-Oh, I didn't really do anything that I was particularly enthusiastic about. I mean, everything I did my best.
Yeah.
But because the things I had done before them were at most for a 2-hour feature or a one-off on a show that would the character would go away, either die or just leave.
Yeah.
But I mean, I always, and I sound like a broken record because I've done these in interviews before, but Joey always has a place in my heart because it was the first sustained role I did, and I'm still doing it.
Yeah.
So it always has a place in my heart, and because it was my first big job, my first recurring job. So that was when things started to become more. I would get more invested in and embrace more, because I mean, he didn't have the biggest character development, but there was some. And there were things I was able to do with messages about friendship and about family, and he was a hero, but there was more going on than just save the day. It was like, I got to win this game to do this for my sister, or I got to do this to help my friend you. There were levels to his quests, as it were.
Right. Yeah. And this is probably obvious to ask, but do you think that you can relate to him the most out of like anime characters you played?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I
Okay.
mean, people ask a lot what are my favorite roles, and it's always a tie between Joey and Michelangelo and Turtles, because Mikey was also a sustained job and a lot of fun to do. Loved doing the voice; it was very comfortable, very much in my range. But I'm not a turtle, so I relate more to Joey because he's technically a human being,
Yeah.
and he's very loyal to his friends. I don't have a sister, but I have a brother that I'm very loyal to, and it's great too because when we were doing Yu-Gi-Oh, and you've heard this from other actors and talent before, we were very isolated and we just do our bit, go away. And I had to forge these friendships with these characters, with the actors I've never met, except maybe passing in the hallway. And then Four Kids started to be a little more social when they got more properties. We'd see each other more often, and Turtles we would do at the same time. So it became more of a rep company. And I got to meet people like Dan and Ted and Greg. And Dan and I became almost best friends, like right off the bat. We met at a Christmas party the year that Yu-Gi-Oh aired for the first
Oh,
time. Yeah, and we had so much in common, and I think that probably fed the characters because we had that in real life connection. They're great. They're to this day we've all been at each other's weddings.
oh,
Yeah, Dan and Greg and Tony Salerno, they went to Rutgers together. They've known each other for decades. And guys like me and Ted and Ollie Wyman, we met these guys later, but became fast friends. And yeah, we've all been to each other's weddings. We see each other up until everything went crazy last year. We saw each other pretty regularly. We're actually meeting this weekend to have dinner. Me and Dan, Greg, Ted, Tony.
no, that's cool. Yeah.
It's gonna be fun. It's been a while.
So what is the case where you've had to alter your voice the most for a role so far?
Um, Cyrus on GX, Yugioh GX. That was a part that it was fun and another sidekick, but I don't like to go too high in my voice because it gives
Okay.
me a headache. I can do it easily, but over time and take after take, and you're probably familiar with the fact that Yu-Gi-Oh involves a lot of calling out cards and yelling, and yelling in Joey's voice is a lot different than yelling in Cyrus's voice.
Right.
So that high pitch thing was difficult.
Signature questions I like to ask voice actors is what's the darkest, most emotionally involved headspace you've had to get into for an anime role?
I think the darkest thing that's fairly reality based, when we're not talking about like some otherworldly dimension or
Yeah.
item or MacGuffin. I did Mazinger Z not too long ago.
Okay. Yeah.
That was, I think that I was played the lead or a big character, and maybe it wasn't the lead, but it was a main character. And I went through a lot in that. Like the guy, he was an eccentric scientist, and this creation was his daughter, and then he had an issue with his brother, and it was a lot of family drama going on that I rarely get to see explored as deeply in anime. So that there was some darkness there. Um, there are a couple things I've done where it's just it's not dark so much as it is maybe a little heavier
Yeah.
than things like Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh. Yu-Gi-Oh has its darkness though. Isn't there a movie, the Dimensions of Darkness or
Right. Yeah.
Darkness of Dimension? There's dark and dimension in there.
And this was start of another darker series. If you remember being an Angel Sanctuary, I think you were the lead.
Yes, I do. I remember again. I remember the name. I don't remember the circumstances.
Okay.
Was I evil?
No, it was just like this badass samurai, like modern samurai kind of character.
Not Samurai Deeper Kyo.
No.
Okay, that was something different. I don't really remember Angel Sanctuary. I do know the name is familiar,
Okay.
but I don't know exactly precisely what was happening. You know, was that NYAV Post or was that Media Blasters?
It's Media Blasters, yeah.
It's probably NYAV Post. Yeah, a lot of stuff I did with Mike at NYAV Post was a lot of like rich characters and long sustained story arcs. Goofy stuff too, but there was some reality based things that were fun to do.
Yep. And on the topic of Samurai Deeper Kyo, what were your thoughts as Benitora?
Venator was a really fun character. The problem with Samurai Deeper Kyo is I think we went through 3 directors in the early days, so his accent was all over the place.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I think I got cast on the merits of my channeling Val Kilmer in Tombstone.
Okay.
Because it was going to be that kind of I'm your Huckleberry, off the cuff, like lackadaisical Southern gentleman thing.
Mm-hmm.
And somewhere along the line, in like the first 10 episodes, I had 3 different accents, I think, as I was told to do things differently. So it's a little uneven. but it was one of my favorite roles. I enjoyed doing it.
Yeah.
It was he had that combination of being goofy and badass at the same time.
Well, what were your thoughts coming back as Tokagero and Shaman King?
Love Tokagero. Tokagero's great. I love that character, and I was very pleased. And I think I full disclosure, I skimmed through a lot of Megan's interview that you sent me, and because she was on Shaman King as well.
Yeah.
I think I just happened to randomly fast forward to that bit, and she talked about how she couldn't really remember what the character was, but they sent her a ref. I will never forget Tokagero. It's like carved into my brain, that voice, and I love it. It's fun. It's a great character, and he's just evil enough that he's not dislikable, and it's easy for me to do the voice. And when he yells, I can yell in that pitch easier than in a Cyrus voice.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of fun to do, and I'm happy that they brought it back, particularly in this difficult time when we're recording at home, and to not have to start from scratch developing a character really helps out. You just jump right in and get the work done.
This is breaking into more modern series. You had a really cool role in Aria. That's a cool show.
Yes. Is it called Aria? I always thought it was Aria or Aria.
And maybe that's right.
I think it's Aria because yeah, that was cool. That was like one of those Tokagero-esque, I'm not Tokagero, Venatora-esque roles where he was cool, but he loses his cool every now and then with around was it Aria? One of the main women characters he just could not talk to and got flustered. And that was cool, like a little dent in his armor of not being cool all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that was up at Headline with Joe DeGiorgi. Good man.
Yeah. Because I know that went on for a long time too.
That was great. Veronica Taylor was in there. She would Joe would tell me that she would fly in and like just spend a week in New York working exclusively on Aria because she had so much to do. And I think she was doing script adaptation as well.
Mm-hmm.
She was really busy with that.
So were you already a fan of anime before getting into it, or did it take a while?
I was a fan at a time when there wasn't much to see easily.
Okay.
I think the first one I may have seen was Battle of the Planets, the Gatchaman adaptation. And I saw Speed Racer on reruns and Star Blazers. Robotech, I really fell in love with that right away. But these were things that would air randomly. There was no anime news network. There was no internet. There was no, I mean, you could get a bootleg of something, but that felt always kind of shady.
Yeah.
I would go to comic conventions as a fan, for comic books, and I would see the tables of anime. And I had other friends and acquaintances that were very into getting imports and getting the model kits and whatever from Japan. And they kind of turned me on to things that I hadn't seen before. Like I'd heard of some of these products. I heard of Mazinger before I did it, because it was the Shogun Warriors in America in the late 70s, early 80s. So I was a fan, and then, but I didn't realize how big it was. Mm-hmm. And when I landed a couple of jobs, I'm like, how many episodes are in this? Wow. And it's still going on. So the immensity of the industry in Japan in particular was lost on me until I started working professionally. Mm-hmm. And then it's just like, it's a mind blower how much is out there. And for everything, like in America, cartoons are kind of niche still. Like there's certain things that you just don't animate because there's no interest. But in Japan, it's like there's baseball cartoons and there's like just farming things and just anime about everything because it's such a popular medium.
Yeah,
it's very impressive. And then we're over time we're getting that translated into English, so there's more work for us as voice actors.
Mm-hmm. Was there ever any aspiration for you to move to LA, or were you always comfortable in New York?
Yeah, I'm a New Yorker. There's even when it wasn't so social media based as it is now in LA, I didn't have the temperament for it. I like seasons. So there's the weather aspect of things. I'm a big theater guy. I like to stay here. Not that there's not theater in LA, but there's way more here.
Right.
And it's what I know. I know New York, and I know how to deal with other actors here. I've been to LA a few times, and it's not. I have very difficult issues dealing with some of the industry there. And
okay.
I'm a terrible marketer. I can't self-promote to save my life, and I think I've made the right choice. I almost moved to Chicago years ago.
Oh, okay.
Choice, but that didn't pan out.
Have you ever been up here in Minnesota for anything?
I may have been through Minnesota for like theater tours when I was truck and van tours back in the early 90s or mid 90s when I would go do theater in random colleges.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I'd never been there for for a long period of time anyway.
Okay. And so outside of Ninja Turtles, it looks like you've gotten to do more like recent original animation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's been some cool stuff. Like well, I don't know how original it is, but I've been doing Octonauts for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun because it's educational.
Mm-hmm.
It's another voice that's not really in my comfort zone. It is a lot of screaming and yelling, but in the high pitched voice, which I've said is not ideal for me. But it's a fun show. It's cute, and like I said, it's educational. Like I was recording it last summer here in my apartment, and just getting these facts. And I'd come in and tell my kids, "Hey, did you know that the loudest creature in the sea is the snapping shrimp?" And they're like, "Awesome, we don't care." But yeah, there are things. If I can do something that's silly that also educates, that makes me feel good about myself. You know, but Octonauts we did. I did. There was a. I'm not even sure if it's finished yet. I was working on this new Gulliver's Travels adaptation for a couple of years. I think it's Ukraine. They're doing it in Ukraine or Russia, and the animation looks great from what I'd seen. I'm not sure if it's finished yet, but it looks like it's something cool.
Mm. And this might be another obvious question, but even with how much anime you've done in comparison to original animation, do you prefer doing original animation?
Just because there's a little more latitude to explore your character, that there isn't room to explore things in anime, but just because of the language difference and because of the stylistic differences and because it's already been animated, you've got to tailor your performance to that as opposed to vice versa, which is why Turtles was great. We would just be, the four of us would be in the booth just cutting up and making fun, like actual brothers. You know, we would mess around, ad lib on lines, and they would take different takes that weren't necessarily what was written in the script. So in that aspect, the prelay stuff is a lot more just interesting for me as an actor.
Even more recent anime series, Bakuman.
Bakuman, I remember that. That was about the like a manga company?
Yeah.
Remember that? Yeah, that was cool because I'm a big comic book fan, so I was like, oh yeah, I know what they're talking about. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's who inks and who does the lettering. Sure, I know all that stuff.
It looks like that you got to be the first Berserk series and then some of the modern movies.
I know I did the series. I'm not sure if I did any of the movies.
Okay.
That was also a Sinter Nicholas joint. I remember that. A great part of that was I brought a friend in who has an amazing baritone voice, much like yourself, and he wanted to get into voiceover stuff. And I said, you know what? I'm doing this job for my buddy from Ninja Turtles. He has a studio. He needs crowd reactions. Would you mind just doing that with me? And he said, yeah, that'd be great. We went in and he tanked it so bad because he like his voice was good and it really like it projected through, but it was too projected in a crowd scene.
Oh.
And his ad libs were a little too modern. So he's gotten work elsewhere, but I don't think Mike ever hired him again. Sorry, man. I tried.
Did you just get to do incidental stuff on the Your Name movie?
I remember that. That was a Mike thing. We did that. That was great. Mike has been getting some really cool and interesting and projects that are getting attention. And I'm glad because he's been working really hard for a long time now. And to get the attention, the accolades he deserves is cool.
Yeah, because I know, of course, you got to be in Weathering with You.
Yep. Remember that?
It's a great movie.
Yep. I do remember that one. That was a good one. I'm actually, I right before I dialed into this the Zoom meeting, I had recorded a couple of auditions for a project Mike is doing, and the name escapes me because I just did it. But I recorded it right where I'm sitting.
Oh, okay. That's cool. Looks like some various different Gundam series too.
Done some Gundam at Mike's, yeah. I think I had one really good role, but he didn't last. Like it was good. And a meaty role for about one episode, and then I think he blew up.
Before he moved to LA, were you friends with Mark Grayson?
He and I've met him a few times because he was directing and engineering with Mike or at Mike's, and yeah, we hit it up. And I think they did a cool thing in Pokemon where he and I had just had sons around the same time, and they named two characters after our sons.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I think he and I were playing like train conductor trainers. Pokemon trainers, and their names were they spelled them differently, but they were our sons' names, and that was a little tip of the hat to us, which I thought was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Mark is a nice guy. I miss him. I haven't seen him in a long time.
Yeah, and since you were doing Pokemon for so long, is there a role that stands out the most to you for what you've played?
The Great Butler, Pokemon Jirachi. Love that. That was it, because he was a conflicted villain.
Mhm.
That's what I was talking about. He was a guy who, he wasn't really a full-on villain. He was like the antagonist of the piece, but he had really complex motivations, and it was a love story. And anytime I get to play opposite Megan in a love story, oh, what a blessing! And it was my first big Pokemon role. And Joe Shallak, one of the engineers at 4Kids to this day at Konami, he'll bring up that role and how much he enjoyed the performance. And I think he made his kids watch it, and they will randomly say Diane, which is the woman's name that I was in love with. They'll say that randomly in their house.
That's funny. Looks like an anime from last year that you had a bigger role in, Angelo and art.
Yes, that was the Texans did that. That was Sound Cadence, I think, the studio. I'm not sure, but yeah, that was recorded it here, and that's interesting. That was very much like Aria, where
Yep.
the design of everything was very period, and it looked like they did their time in researching the buildings and backgrounds and like the costuming. Yeah, it was really, that was he was an apprentice.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Was that? Oh, I think this was a little before that, but the Emma series, Victorian romance.
I think that's still kind of ongoing. We're on a pause right now. I think headline with the aforementioned Joe DeGiorgi. He's been renovating his studio, and it's a little hard for Manhattanites to get up to his place. But that was, I know we didn't finish it. I think there was another season, but that was good. Yeah, I like that one. They really got into again, like they were saying, they pay a lot of attention to the design, and they really were strict about the accents. They keeping it as realistic as possible. I think they had a dialect coach, which is rare. Yeah.
Is that something that are you pretty versatile when it comes to like accents and speaking in the different dialects?
I mean, I think so.
Okay.
I'll get roles that require accents. And matter of fact, years ago, I did an audiobook for kids, and it was just a really like slimmed down version of Romeo and Juliet. And I was Romeo, and the woman playing Juliet and the fellow playing Father Lawrence were actual Brits, and they thought I was from England.
Oh, okay.
So make of that what you will. Yeah, the same folks who did art are doing Prince of Tennis.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm playing a Loki type character in that, who seems pretty cool. See, I did that. Shaman King is happening. Finished. I can talk about it now because I know it was revealed in a Comic-Con not too long ago. The Gotham Knights video game.
Okay.
A while back, and that was a video game where I was a little hesitant to do because it seemed like there was a lot of yelling, and that's why I kind of like shy away from video games, because I'm getting a little older and I need to be able to do more in a day than just one video game. So if I have a lot of jobs lined up and I have a video game, that's all I can do. But I was playing a lot of thugs and one of the Court of Owls. I don't know if you know what that's all about in Batman. Yeah, and that was a good job, and it was the first on-site in-studio job I did during the COVID times.
Okay.
Last year, about a year ago in September. Yeah.
Because the most recent credit with IMDb at least was something called New York Ninja.
New York Ninja. Oh my gosh. Yes. Do you know anything about this?
No.
Let me tell you what this is about.
Okay.
This is a movie. This is a movie that they filmed in the 80s. I'm going to say 1985, 86. And they filmed it in New York, and it is what it says. There's a New York Ninja. But for some reason or other, and I'm just a secondhand news, but I'm told that they filmed it and either ran out of money or somebody screwed something up. There was no sound.
Oh, okay.
The entire movie. And they shelved it, forgot about it, and there was some sort of fan interest in it, or somebody somewhere had some extra money and they financed a dub of it. And we did it last year, and it should be done. I think it's going to be released soon. And it's exactly what you think it is. It's an 80s martial arts movie where somebody forgot to press record on the recording device. It'll be interesting to see the final product, because it was of its time, shall we say.
Yeah. And there before I ask my final question, there were just some other early anime roles I wanted to pull out, see if you remembered anything. Revolutionary Girl Utena.
That was the one with Ruka. Right?
Okay. Yeah,
character.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the one. I did that right around the same time I started Yu-Gi-Oh, and Lisa was like the lead character in that.
Yep.
We were brother sister, and I think I had to like beat the hell out of her or beat her up really bad or something in Revolutionary Girl. Yeah. So yeah, nice to meet you. I'm gonna beat you up now. Hooray!
Mhm. And you got to play the lead male character in Two Heart.
Too hard. Yeah, that was a upstate Joe DeGiorgi thing too, which I think did Sam Riegel direct that? I'm not sure, but I remember. Yeah, that was a good one. That was another one where I was like able to do more than just yell and make goofy sounds. It was a character with growth.
Oh, I was going to bring this up because it's a really interesting series. Sadamitsu the Destroyer.
Yes, I remember Sadamitsu the Destroyer. That was a good one. That was a yelling one that I didn't mind yelling because
Yeah.
it was so vigorous and it came from somewhere. It wasn't just I'm gonna throw a card at you. It was like I'm gonna save the day, or I'm gonna vanquish that enemy. Simplistic heroic ideal motivations, but it was definitely a lot of gusto in there, and a developed superhero kind of character.
Yeah, but the way that I end every interview I do is asking, what do you want your legacy to be?
My legacy. Well, I tend to live in the now. I don't really care what happens later.
Okay.
But it would be nice, and it's been evidenced many times at conventions and appearances that things I've done have made a difference in someone's life in a positive way. There's been a lot of thanking me for Joey in particular, helping with some bullying situations in school, or just self-confidence issues. That's such a side benefit that I would no way have expected to happen when I walked into those booths the first time. Because I'll be quite honest with you, when I started Yu-Gi-Oh, I thought this is a Pokemon knockoff, whatever. I'll do my best. They want a Brooklyn accent. We'll do that, see how it goes. And then 20 years later, I'm getting people that I meet for the first time talk about what an influence it's been on their lives. And I had no idea. So this is something that was an accidental legacy. And I think that's amazing. I think it's great. Because a lot of people do things in their life and they do things that help people, but they never meet them.
Right.
There are doctors and there are lawyers, there are professionals that go to school for 20 years to learn a skill, and they'll help somebody and never see them again, and they won't know. But I've actually met people who are enthusiastic about the show and had been for a long time, that are really genuinely happy and want to thank me for what I gave them. And that blows my mind and warms my heart. I really, that legacy is fulfilled.
Well, because it was the same with me. Definitely, Yotoden was one of the primary series that was a shelter for me for dealing with domestic abuse stuff when I was a kid.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's great. I'm very happy to hear that. Not the domestic abuse, but what would happen.
Right.
Helping.
Well, thanks for willing to do this.
Absolutely, my man. Nice to meet you. And
Yeah, you too.
thank you for watching everything, man. Take care.
Thanks, you too.
See ya.